All right, everyone. Today we're going to try to actually go through and write an essay together, a rhetorical analysis essay, using specifically the rhetorical triangle that we've been talking about with appeals to logic, appeals to emotion, appeal to credibility. So what we've selected here, if you can see it on the right-hand side, a speech by Malala Yousafzei. This is a speech she gave very recently in 2019 in Japan. I'll back up just a little bit here. At the World Assembly of Women. So I'm going to have this over here on the right-hand side so we can see it and use it as we go through and write our essay over here on the right-hand side of the screen together in live time. So I'm seeing this for the first time like you would be. And we're going to just see what we would do if we encountered this on our prompt. So we've got the document over here. If you want to, you can pause this recording to go read the speech yourself if you haven't already done so. It should be available to you. If for some reason you don't have it, you can go straight to her own website, malala.org. It's where the Malala Fund is, and just find this speech here. So if you want to do that, pause and read it, go ahead. I'll just keep going as if you've come back after pausing and reading the speech. So here we go. All right, so here we have the speech. Begins thanking the attendees, in this case, some people, Prime Minister of Japan, and some other people, okay? Now I want to point out something she does early. If I can get it, there we go. She talks about she's being happy and grateful, appreciates the leadership of women, and then makes a very personal touch right in here. Whoops, let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay. Tells a personal story, an anecdote, uses some humor, and makes it very personal. Also grateful that he and Mrs. Abe, talking about Prime Minister of Japan, were so kind when she ate a large portion of wasabi and she'd never tasted it and it was super hot and all that. Okay. She uses that to transition. This morning I looked out at my window, beautiful garden below, the green grass, streams and trees, beauty of Japan. Okay, so there's a transition right there. Okay. Let's look and see her purpose here. If you know anything about Malala Yousafzei, you know that it's extremely likely that her purpose is going to have something to do with education, more specifically the education of girls internationally. That's for very good reasons. That's what she is passionate about. If you don't know her story, you should look it up. She is, at the time of this recording, I think she's 22 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And when she was, I want to say 15, was shot in the head by Taliban terrorists because when she was 11, the schools in Afghanistan were shut down because the Taliban took over about 2008. But she continued getting education. Her parents actually ran the school. And she spoke out against these school closings. So the Taliban targeted her. And when she was 15, she was on a school bus. They targeted her specifically, boarded the bus, shot her in the head. But she survived, and didn't just survive, but thrived, and won the Nobel Peace Prize shortly thereafter. And now here we are. She studies, I think she's at Oxford University right now. Or she might have graduated already, I'm not sure. But that's her story. So it's extremely likely, because we know that. Whoa, look, there's some writing right there. We know that she's likely to have the purpose of talking about, convincing, persuading education of young girls internationally. But let's read our speech and see if we can't get another meaning out of it here. Okay, so we left off about there. Okay. Spent my childhood in a peaceful place, sometimes called the Switzerland of the East. And she tells her story about the extremists. Oh, see, here's all the stuff. I didn't need to tell you that. It's right there. Okay. Oh, it's 2009. Sorry. Okay. So because you've already read it, I'm going to get to when she finishes her personal story, or she's transitioning to it, right about here. She's transitioning out of her story to what she's here now to do. Today I'm here to speak to all of you on behalf of these girls. Okay. So we go on. She thanks individual people. Boom. Boom. Japan's astronaut. That's very Benzabudo. Prime Minister of Pakistan. So on. And then we're going to get to, let me just erase this. We're going to get to identifying the problem she's here to discuss. Whoops. There we go. Whoa. There we go, right there. Unlike you and me, millions of girls around the world are unprepared for the modern workforce. Has to do with their inability to get education because they're denied it. Okay. Specifically here. Okay, so here's something specific. STEM. And then she talks about this student or person, that student, person, that person. People that excelled in the STEM causes. Okay. So maybe we could work that into our purpose. We have her fund, the Malala Fund and World Bank. Published research showing if all girls complete second. Okay, so we might have some logic there if we want to use it later. Okay. Let's keep reading. Sustainable Development Goals. Here we go. Pretty direct thing there. Now realize she's not currently speaking to all of the G20 leaders. Okay. But, oh, look at this. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we can kind of put those things together. This week, she's asking G20 leaders to commit new funding to give girls, 12 years of education, the skills they need for future workforce. That's pretty specific. Now, realize she's not currently speaking to the G20 leaders, but she's talking to Prime Minister Abe and, by extension, all of Japan, who is hosting the G20. As the hosts of this year's G20, Prime Minister Abe and Japan have the opportunity to lead on girls' education. I can't think of a better legacy for this year's summit or a better gift for Japan to give the world. Oh, and here we go, some more. Okay, like I say, I'm reading this for the first time with you. Okay, Prime Minister Abe cannot do it alone. We need all G20 heads of state, business leaders, and advocates to join the fight. Okay, so her basic purpose that she seems to have all the time for very good reason, and it's a very noble purpose, about access to education for girls worldwide, we can make that a little bit more specific, pushing the G20 leaders, or you could say if you wanted to, Prime Minister Abe to push the G20 leaders to commit new funding. So let's go on over here to our writing, and let's think about writing some sort of purpose, okay? Whoops. I'm going to make all kinds of typing errors, I'm sure, so just bear with me on that. Yousafzei. Let's do a rough draft of our purpose here. Whoops. See, I told you I was going to make mistakes. You know what we could do? Let's see if we can do a direct quote to make this really, really clear. Okay. So we talked about investing in girls. Where's that quote? Let's look for it. I'll just do that part right there. See, I told you mistakes. We could do it again if we wanted to. You want to do that again? Let's do that. Okay. Okay, so we have a direct quote that would be pretty good for our purpose. Let's see if we like our purpose here. Malala Yousafzei speaks to Prime Minister Abe in order to press him to try and influence world leaders to invest in girls regarding 12 years of education and the skills they need for future workforce. Okay, let's see if we can clean this up here. Okay, let's say this. Let's do that because we had that up earlier. In order to press him is a little bit weak, right? So let's just lose that. In order to influence world leaders to invest in girls. Influence is a little weak. Do we want to change that? Let's change that to convince world leaders to invest in girls regarding 12 years of education, skills they need for the future workforce. Okay, let's leave that there as our purpose. But that's obviously not going to be our first sentence. So let's back it up here. Okay, so, whoops. I think I spelled her name wrong here, didn't I? Which is embarrassing. But, like I said, whoops, let me erase this. Oh, I did. See? Look at that. Yousaf. There we go. And then I spelled it wrong twice, 2 different ways there. Okay. Anyway, okay, so we need something to contextualize this. Okay. Make sure I spelled that right, huh? Yep. I'm taking this directly from there. Actually, I'm just going to do this. What was this called exactly? Let's back up here. World Assembly of Women. Okay, we could do that. Do that like that. Indent here. Okay, but we still don't, we have our purpose, we don't have our methodology. Okay, for our purposes here today, let's keep this on the triangle. Okay, now normally we can do all sorts of other things, tone, metaphor, and all that, but because we've been focusing on the whole ethos, pathos, logos idea, let's try and keep it there. So, remember, whoops, I keep doing that. Remember that we refer to people by their last names, unless there's a mononym. So we need to address all 3 of ours. But remember, we are not going to use our 3 Aristotelian words. We're not just going to say she uses pathos, ethos, logos. We're going to, A, not use those terms at all, and B, be very specific about how she does them. Okay? So that would be our version of ethos, right? Yousafzei established herself as a warm, tough, and intelligent woman through the use of personal anecdote. Before, because she did that early. Okay, so we have that, and then we have our logic there before she lays out the case for female education worldwide. So we've done ethos and logos there. If you want, we can say this to make it clearer. We can do that. Okay. Now, of course, we're going to be doing that as we write, so I'm going to make that clear as we go. But we still need our pathos. Okay. Without resorting to, well, it's not resorting. Let's try this. And that would be our emotional bit. Without trying to garner pity or sympathy, Yousafzei creates a sense of urgency and moral clarity to the issue to hasten change in our world. That can be our introduction right there. Okay. So we like our introduction. We're going to leave it like that because in a timed write, we don't really have time to go back, change it. But that's how we might begin this. Okay. All right. If some of you, by the way, as this video goes, if you want to pause to go away and come back later because it's a long video, feel free to do that. For me, though, we're going to go on and go to the next part. All right, let's get back here. Now we're going to do our first body paragraph, which was about how she established herself as a warm, tough, intelligent woman. Luckily, that also comes first. Well, luckily, we did it on purpose, but that comes first in the document, the speech itself, so we can get right to it. So here we go. So she starts out with that sort of funny story. By the way, I'm going to organize this. I'd already decided to organize this kind of chronologically. So that's how I'm going to go through this paper. That's not the only organizational strategy. It's just the one I'm going to use right now. Okay. I'm going to keep my tone kind of low here so as not to overwrite. Whoops. I'm not done yet, but I want to show you what I've done so far. Yousafzei uses a humorous personal anecdote to set listeners at their ease. What she has to say will be quite heavy, so opening with a funny story makes her audience feel comfortable. There's more to do, but I think you see where I'm going here. So let's now get to that actual funny story. Okay, if we remember, we saw it right here in this paragraph. So let's go to that. Let's use our direct quote from it. Whoops, when she says, well, let's use indirect quote. Whoops, I'll do this. Excuse me. Okay. Now, I haven't quoted it directly because the The exact words weren't important. What's important was the story. So when she relays the story of eating a Japanese delicacy she was not used to, it humanizes her, making her seem fallible and therefore likable. Excuse me, making demands that let's use that persona term, huh? Let's just leave it there. We'll match up with what we said there. Okay. We can also make that a little bit better. Like that. Okay. So we're trying to tie in, remember, what she does, talks about eating the wasabi, what effect that has, making her seem fallible and likable, and how that connects to our overall point of furthering the cause of female education. Now, we also said she wants to look tough and intelligent, so let's get to that. I'm going to scroll down here. Okay. What was the name of the town? Let's find it. Swat Valley. Okay. Whoops. There we go. Let's do that. Okay. Let's use a direct quote here just because we haven't yet. And let's find it. Well, she doesn't speak about it directly, right? It's down in here. We'll save that then. Whoops, there we go. The extremists did target me for defending my right to education, but they failed. So she kind of glosses over the I was shot in the head. Oh, we'll do that with the without trying to garner pity. Okay. Okay. Was that? Gosh darn it. I think I'm spelling it wrong yet again. For some reason, I keep wanting to say Yousafzei. Like that, okay? So we're trying to get her whole toughness angle, right, that we said right up here. And also explain how what this is going to do to her audience. So now we're going to explain what is being implied without being said directly. Okay, gosh darn it. Let's make sure I spell this right. I'm going to check it again. I already said endure. Well, let's see here. So we said if she can survive in a terrifying person, do that. Okay. And now let's last touch on her intelligent. Okay. Which will get us to laying out the logical case. So did I do it right? Yes, I did. Let's see here. Now might be a good time to have a direct quote, because we're talking about how she speaks directly with language well beyond her years. So let's see here. Let's see here. Well, let's see. Do we have anything on our side here that we can show she is speaking intelligently? Okay. Maybe towards the end. Oh, you know what we can do? And what was it at the beginning? I think we're just translating. Yeah, that's the best translation we can do in English to the Muslim greeting. So we're just gonna leave it as it is, because obviously it's in Arabic, so it's not going to be in that kind of writing. But we're just going to do our best. Okay. Okay. Whoop. And there's our transition. Okay, so now we're moving into our logic section. Okay, again, if you wanted to pause and take a little break, you could. I'm just going to continue going in our next paragraph. Okay, here we go. We're back. And now let's see where she can talk about logic. Okay. Gosh darn it. I'm going to spell that wrong every single time. Sorry, Miss Yousafzei. You're a ton better person than I am, but I still can't seem to get your name right. Anyway, while her cause stirs much passion and emotion. So we've acknowledged that there's emotion here. But we're going to do now... Let's do international. Okay, so now let's find a quote. We haven't really done well with quoting so far, so now let's go through here. Okay. Okay, where did I go? Whoop. Okay, so that's the example. We have direct quote, girls trained in STEM can produce extraordinary innovation. Then she goes through and lists the Ethiopian, South African, and then she's going to meet the Japanese young lady who have actually done innovations in STEM. So now we have to explain what these examples of hers do. Should we quote that? That's what we said before, so let's maybe do that. Let's do that again. See how we're doing logic there? Mainly to show that investment in girls benefits everyone. Okay. Let's use this quote here. Matter of fact, let me just cut and paste just to save a little bit of time here. Whoops, that wasn't the one, though. Actually, I need to set it up first. Okay. All right, gosh darn it. There we go. Okay, now we'll do it. Okay. There we go. Do that, and I'm just for... There we go. Just for me a little quicker. Maybe wheeze the wrong words. Too many T's. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so let's finish this off. Let's do it this way. So we're going to show the logic clearly. Okay, I'm trying to be as clear as possible then. So we're showing that logic, or we're showing what the logic shows. Logically, this means this. Now we have to explain, but why use logic at all, right? Let's see here. The use of logic removes any emotional component from the issue. If one still feels prejudice against women, okay, so as if to say, even you men at the G20, or even the men sitting here, for some reason hold a prejudice against women, you still logically can't deny that educating them provides benefits. Okay. Okay, now let's go back up. I've forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, there we go. Put aside the personal qualms against female education. We sort of connected that without even thinking of it. Without trying to garner sympathy or garner pity or sympathy, sense of urgency and moral clarity. Okay, so let's finish it off here. Okay. So let's talk about why she waited at the end to give her case here. And I have a block against spelling her name right. Let's do our direct quote. Let's do that. So now I have to explain why she would put that purpose towards the end here. Oops. Well, let's go back to what we had said she does. Whoops, darn it. So we'll see we're tying everything together here. Delaying her request or call to action allows her to ingratiate herself to her audience with a comical story of her own folly. That was kind of complicated. Yeah, that was bordering on overwritten. Favor's the wrong word, but I was thinking of that. Got a block there. There we go. Okay, that kind of brings it all together. I'm going to stop ourselves there because I want to check the time on it. I feel like we've been working about as long as you'd have. Okay, now I tried to keep us within the triangle, like I said, but that's what we came up with. I hope you saw how we did it. I hope you saw how we went back and forth with the piece. I hope it wasn't too complicated for you. Were there other things we could have done? Absolutely. Could have talked about tone. Could have talked about kairos, the idea of this needs to happen now. Okay. Could have talked about that she talks about a lot of other individual women. We just didn't because I wanted to stay specifically on the triangle because that's what we've been working on for so long. But I don't want you to come away thinking that the paper I wrote here in front of you was the only paper that could possibly have been written about this. It's just we had been focusing on the 3 Aristotelian appeals, so I wanted to stay with that here. I also hope you understood, I'm pretty sure I avoided it. I don't think I ever said pathos, ethos, or logos. Instead, we talked specifically about, well, here's the credibility that she establishes and here's how she does it. Here is the way she set up her case logically. Here are the ways she set up emotion. without hiding behind those Aristotelian appeals, without hiding behind the language. So you're using the triangle, you're using the Aristotelian appeal and all the aspects of the triangle naturally. It's as if you were hammering a nail. You wouldn't be shouting all the time, I'm using a hammer. You would just use it. You would just do it. Okay? So when you become comfortable enough with the triangle to speak about it in common everyday terms, that's when you've really gotten to where you want to be. I really hope this helped. I know it was quite long. I hope it was under 40 minutes because that's the time that you're going to be spending on your own. And there you go. All right, kids. We'll talk to you later.